'Cause you're working for the man. Working for the man. You gotta make him a hand.
Helping you win the water cooler wars. Thom Hartmann here with you. 21 minutes past the hour. Well, the RNC is all over this. Immediately, here I have here's the talking points that go out to all the talk show hosts. I'm waving them in front of the camera for those of you who are watching Tom Vision, our free video web stream. The headline, RNC research briefing, Obama induces labor. Did the Obama campaign use the SEIU to keep Blagojevich at arm's length? Yes, the Republicans are going to politicize this, and I'm telling you, right-wing talk radio is going to be all over it, etc. And just, you know, laying this whole thing, there's got to be some kind of connection here. Well, yeah, the connection is that Obama apparently blew this thing up. You know, that's not exact. I mean, here's Fox News. Arrest puts Obama ties in spotlight. Right, this is from the main page. Newsbusters, one of the right-wing websites. Will media cover Obama Rod Blagojevich connection? Here over at WorldNet Daily. What did Obama know and when did he know it? Yeah. But where it gets even stranger, I appear to have lost my notes from this morning on this, but where it gets even stranger is the New York Times even is out there talking about this thing over at Attitude, Will Bunch's blog over at Philly.com. He quotes the New York Times. You know, they talk about how ironic it was that it was Obama's call to the Senate, the president of the Senate in Illinois, saying, please override the veto of Governor Blagojevich of an ethics bill. In other words, Obama being, as a United States Senator, being the good guy, as a U.S. presidential candidate, being the good guy and saying we need clean politics in Illinois. And calling the Senate leader and saying, override the veto of the governor who wanted to keep politics dirty, basically. So that's the setup. And then the New York Times says, beyond the irony of its outcome, Mr. Obama's unusual decision to inject himself into a statewide issue during the height of his presidential campaign was a reminder that despite his historic ascendancy to the White House, he has never quite escaped the murky and insular world of Illinois politics. Say what? I mean, here's even the New York Times saying the opposite of essentially what's the reality. This is the beginning of just like during the Clinton time, this is the beginning of the beating up of the president, the trashing of the presidency. I'm telling you, the Republicans, they're going to go nuts with this, and this is just the beginning. Remember during the Clinton administration, Hillary fired a travel agent? Oh, my God, we've got to have an investigation. It must be a scandal. She's lost a box of documents from when she was a lawyer 34 years ago. Oh, my God, we've got to have a special prosecutor. Oh, she's now found the documents? Well, that's got to happen. We need a congressional inquiry. And I'm telling you, it is getting downright strange out there. Now, here's where I want to pull together two completely separate things that are not completely separate. You will recall many times on this program I've talked about how in 1980, the original October surprise was the Reagan campaign negotiating with the Iranians, which is why they later were giving them missile parts when they were no longer had hostages. They negotiated with them and said, we'll give you these missile parts after the election if you'll hold these hostages during the election so that Jimmy Carter will go down in flames. Well, it turns out that wasn't the original October surprise. The original October surprise was in 1968. These tapes have just been made public, the Lyndon Johnson tapes, about how the Nixon campaign was blowing up the efforts of Lyndon Johnson to negotiate peace with Vietnam in 1968. Over 20,000 soldiers died, Americans died, over 1 million Vietnamese died after this time as a consequence of the Nixon campaign committing treason. This is LBJ telling Everett Dirksen about this so that he knows that this is going on.
The military and the diplomatic situation in Vietnam and reflect the credibility of this administration. Now, I can identify them because I know who's doing this. I don't want to identify it. I think it would shock America if a principal candidate was playing with a source like this on a matter this important.
Principal candidate being Richard Nixon, and trying to blow up his negotiations with Vietnam.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. But if they're going to put this kind of stuff out, they ought to know that we know what they're doing. I know who they're talking to, and I know what they're saying.
So this is Lyndon Johnson telling Everett Dirksen, the Republican Senate leader from Illinois, that he knows that the Nixon campaign is engaged in what Johnson refers to as treason, and Everett Dirksen agrees and says, yes, it's treason. And this is a week before the election of 1968. And just now, just in the last month, we're finding out about this, and yet none of the American press is covering the fact that the Nixon campaign committed treason that led to the death of tens of thousands of American soldiers, because LBJ at the time thought we shouldn't blow up this story. I'll tell you more right after the break.